Hi, everybody. I'm going to keep this fairly short, and I'm only going to focus on a couple of key points. But before I go there, let me just debunk 2 points. And, to explain the word debunk, let me change the perception on 2 points. One, the perception that chemicals are bad. Frankly, I was in the same place 25 years back. Yeah, that's why I didn't do my chemical engineering. I'm a mechanical engineer. But today, I think all of us clearly understand, and those who don't understand, we need to help them understand, chemicals are the mother of all materials. There is no life without chemicals. We have chemicals in our body, in our heart, in our brains, everywhere. Yes, there are some chemicals that are hazardous, there are some chemicals that are less hazardous, and there are some chemicals that are non-hazardous. As of today, all are required. The industry, I think, and many of us are here, are trying to change the hazardous to less hazardous and the less hazardous to non-hazardous. That's the direction, I believe, globally, but it's going to take time. It's going to take a couple of more decades before we get there. But chemicals are necessary. They are the mother of all materials. Point number 2, women in the chemical industry. Now I'll just, we were talking it's difficult and shifts, etc., etc. We at Godrej Chemicals, and we are a pretty large business, we have our biggest factory here in Valia, near Ankleshwar. We have about 2,000 people working there. We have achieved 20% female representation in our company. 10% in the factories. 10% in the factories. It used to be 3% 2 years back. We moved from 3 to 10. And our target is now to keep increasing 3 to 4% every year until we at least reach a 35% threshold. Okay? I think it's up to industry to make it convenient, easy, and attractive for women to come. Otherwise, it's not going to happen by itself. Because we are Indians, there's a certain cultural environment we live in, there's a certain way we've all been brought up, boys and girls. We have to work on that and change it. So if we do it proactively, we can change it. We are an example. If you think it's going to happen by itself, it probably won't, or it'll happen very slowly. Okay? So those are the 2 points. Now I'm just going to focus on 2 more points in this talk, and as I said, I'll keep it short. The first is innovation. Everybody here knows what a unicorn is? Anyone who doesn't know what a unicorn is, can you raise your hand? Okay, so I'll explain it. A unicorn is a new company which is valued, not sales, not profits, but whose valuation is $1 billion US, which in Indian terms, 8,500 crores roughly. All of you have heard of many companies in India that are unicorns today. Most popular ones, Zomato, Swiggy, and there are many others. Can you think of a chemical company? Anybody? Anybody on the dais? No. I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame for the chemical industry that we don't have a single unicorn in the chemical space. Okay, so we can keep saying we are $250 billion, 250, 220, doesn't matter. We want to become 1 trillion. How is this going to happen? Is it a dream or is it reality? Why don't we have unicorns? Or why don't we have startups in the chemical space which are coming with ideas, which are trying to invent new technologies? Or worst case, at least pick up something new, the latest technology from Japan, Korea, China, Israel, US, Western Europe. Why is this not happening? I think this is something we as an industry really need to think about. Otherwise, we will remain a Me Too industry. You know what a Me Too industry is? I will pick what somebody is doing somewhere, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years old technology, doesn't matter. I will pick it, I will make it cheaper, and I'll sell it. First to my domestic market, because we have a large domestic market, very large domestic market, and it's growing year by year as our GDP grows, and as urbanization happens, and as our population grows. But if you want to become a global player, that will not do. This will have to change. And the next question is, so why is the innovation not happening? And I read about this and I think about this a lot. I love the country. I love my population. I love my business. We have 1.5 million, 15 lakh engineers coming out of colleges in India every year. Guess how many of them are chemical engineers? Anybody? Any guess? 10%, 20%, 5%. 0.8%. 11,000 out of 15 lakhs are chemical engineers. I think that kind of answers the question. There are institutes from where we used to hire chemical engineers as a company. Those institutes no longer have chemical courses. They've shut their programs. When we asked them, they said, we don't have students applying. We used to have 100, it became 50, then it became 20, and we can't afford to run a program and employ professors for 20 students. So we shut it. So why is this becoming an unattractive industry to be in? Because we are all here, yeah, there are 200 people here in the audience. We have big companies here on the dais. You have UPL, which is a 50,000 crore company, and has done phenomenally well in the last decade if you think about it. So why is this happening? I think this is something we really have to think about. So when I think about it, and I think about innovation, and I think about R&D, and then, Panjwani ji mentioned absolutely accurately, our spend on R&D in this country as a ratio of GDP is 0.7%. Global average is 3.5%. South Korea, Israel are at 6 and 7%. We are at 0.7. One of the lowest paid jobs in the chemical industry is the R&D job. Shame on us. That should actually be one of the highest paid jobs. Because that community, that skill set is going to create the future for us. It's not sales and marketing. Sales and marketing will help to grow, it will help to expand. But if you want to create new ideas, if you want to create new molecules, or forget molecules, you want to create new formulations, you want to create new applications, you want to do better than others, you're going to have to invent new stuff. It's not going to happen without that. I think this is something we as an industry ourselves need to think about. And that's not just the big ones. Anybody, any industry with a revenue of a few hundred crores and a profit of 50 crores plus can afford to think about this. Okay? So that's one thought I want to leave with everybody. There has to be motivation for the younger population to get into this space. Otherwise, 15 years from now, we won't have 200 people in the audience. There'll be 50. Because the industry will shrink. Forget about going to $1 trillion. If the young generation is not going to come into this space, how is this industry going to grow? Think about it. And this is very real. Okay? So that's point number one that I wanted to make. Innovation, talent, how we are treating talent, how we are looking at R&D, and how much we are investing in R&D. And I don't believe this is something we should talk about, from a government point of view. See, the government's there. The government will do what it can. I again agree with what Panjwani ji said. We have to take charge of our own destiny. We are the industry. It's our money that we are investing. It's our growth, it's our future. Second point, we keep talking of infrastructure, logistics. Gadkari ji had spoken about, if I remember right, 13-14% as the logistics cost in India, which was a reason why we are uncompetitive from a global standpoint. Now, recently, there have been more papers by NCAR which says that data was wrong. It's not 13-14%, it's actually 9%. Whatever, doesn't matter. Point is, when I land, or when I come to Bharuch and I try to go to my factory at Valia, by the time I reach, I'm like half dead. Okay? Because in a nice Innova, the amount of times you fly up in the air like a plane, is about 150 times maybe. Just that 30-kilometer stretch. We are improving, right? I'm not trying to be negative here. We are improving. We need to do this faster. And I think their industry and government both have a role to play. It's our job to make the government aware, and then the government has to do its piece. Yeah, I don't think, Praveen, there's anybody from the government here today, right? I wish there was, because that's a message that needs to go there. Second, very importantly, so when I talk of infrastructure, we can talk of ports, we can talk of roads, we can talk of industrial parks. So PIP, PIL, which has, I think, become fairly prominent now in Gujarat, these are things that we need. We need more plug-and-play facilities. We need places where entrepreneurs can go and start quickly without wasting too much time, getting 200 approvals, etc., etc. So that's good. But I'm coming back to the most important factor when you're setting up a new plant, technology. So if you're in a simple technology, fine. You can get into it, set up 4 reactors, start set up your tanks and whatever, buy the raw material, start converting, start selling. But if you are putting in a few hundred crores and you're getting into something which really requires technology in the manufacturing process, we hardly have anything in our country. We typically have to go out, either to the US or Western Europe. That's where most of the technology still exists today, some in Japan. And we need to get the technology from there. That's, again, not going to help us for the future. So go back to the point I made earlier on innovation, R&D. It's not just from a formulation and chemistry perspective. It's also from the manufacturing technology standpoint. We need to work on this as well. I see that as one of the big gaps. We are recently expanding our plant in Valia. So we wanted to put up we are putting up a new fatty alcohol plant, yeah? Decisions made, papers signed, everything done. We are investing 400 crores there. The technology has to come from outside. And there are only 2 suppliers for the technology. Big problem. Because it's difficult to be competitive, right? When you have only 2 suppliers, how much can you negotiate? It's a similar situation in many industries. We got to work on this. And the solution is not 1 month or 1 year. It's something I think we as an industry need to really think about. And then our investments need to go into that space. They need to go into the development space. They need to go into the innovation space. So I'll leave all of you with that thought. Yeah, 2 ideas I debunked at the beginning. 1, chemicals are the mother of all materials. They're absolutely necessary. Let's tell people that so that we have more people being interested in this space. 2, we must look at taking female participation ideally to a 50-50 over a couple of decades. It'll take time. But we got to move that forward as fast as we can. 3rd, innovation, investments in R&D, investments in technology. This is the answer to create the future. We have enough money available today. Anybody wants 100 crores, 500 crores to set up a new industry? If you have a good idea, there's enough money available. There are private equity firms sitting with thousands of crores looking for the right idea to invest in and the right entrepreneur. That is not the problem. The problem is, do you have the right product identified? Are you going to be innovative? Are you going to be different? Are you going to be successful? Because if you're not different, you're not going to be successful. Thank you.